Welcome to the other episode of Management Unplugged of Garang Rathod, and today we are going to discuss Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
Ah, yes. A truly fascinating book.
It really is. It's this incredible story set way back in ancient India, all about one man's, well, his spiritual journey to figure things out, to find
A
himself.
journey of self-discovery, you could say.
Exactly. And today we're going to trace that journey, Siddhartha's whole life, really, but we'll pay special attention to that final meeting he has with his old friend Govinda.
That's such a powerful scene. It really ties everything together.
It does. And of course, we'll touch on all the key people he meets along the way. It's quite a cast of characters, isn't it?
Definitely. Each one teaches him something, pushes him in a new direction.
Yeah.
It makes you think, about our own paths, the people we meet.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though it's ancient India, the big questions, meaning knowledge, how to live, they still hit home, don't they? For anyone listening, trying to navigate their own life.
For sure. Timeless stuff.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Siddhartha. He's a Brahmin's son, well-loved, smart, especially admired by his best friend, Govinda.
Mm-hmm. And Govinda sees something special in him right away. This spark, this deep spirit in mind. He really looks up to Siddhartha.
You get that sense of a really close bond, but also Govinda almost living in Siddhartha's shadow a bit.
Yeah, there's that dynamic.
Yeah.
Govinda admires him so much, believes in his potential. And that early relationship, it's important later when their paths, diverge so much.
Right. But even with all this respect, this comfortable life, Siddhartha starts feeling restless, uneasy with the Brahmin way, the rituals, the teachings.
It's not just rebellion, though. It's deeper. He's questioning the core ideas, like Atman, the self, and Brahman, the big universal reality.
He's asking if just knowing the words, doing the rituals actually connects you to that reality.
Exactly. He feels like maybe the Brahmins, his father, the elders, they know about it, but do they truly live it? There's a gap, he thinks, between the knowledge and the lived experience.
Hess calls it an eternal thirst, even with all the wisdom of the Upanishads around him.
Yeah, it's like having the map, maybe the best map ever, but still feeling lost, still thirsty for the actual water, not just the description of it. The knowledge isn't quenching that deep inner need.
Which leads him to do something pretty drastic.
Yeah.
He decides to leave it all behind, becomes a samana, a wandering ascetic.
A huge step. And that conversation with Govinda about it shows how much they understand each other, even if Govinda doesn't fully grasp Siddhartha's need to leave everything.
And the scene with his father? Wow, that's intense.
Oh, yeah. The father's anger at first, then just standing there watching Siddhartha stand silently all night long.
That silent determination from Siddhartha, it's powerful, until the father finally sees he can't be swayed.
Right. He gives this reluctant blessing, and Siddhartha just bows and leaves, and then Govinda, loyal as ever, decides he's going too.
Speaks volumes about their friendship, doesn't it?
It really does. So off they go to join the Samanas, and that life is extreme.
Total self-denial, right. Fasting, meditating for hours, trying to control their breath.
All aimed at basically erasing the self, the ego. They believe that by stripping away all the desires, all the comforts, even the sense of I, they'll reach a deeper truth.
But Siddhartha, being Siddhartha, he starts questioning that too.
He does. He learns the techniques,
Mhm.
masters them even, but starts thinking, wait, am I really getting anywhere? Or am I just distracting myself in a different way?
He has that thought, doesn't he, that he could probably learn just as much about escaping the self from, like, a drunkard in a tavern.
Yes. It's a bit cynical, but it shows his disillusionment. He realizes the method itself isn't the answer. He starts thinking that true knowledge, that Atman, isn't something you learn from outside.
It's already inside.
Inside you, inside everyone, everything. It needs to be experienced, not taught or achieved through harsh discipline alone. It's a fundamental shift from looking outward to looking inward.
And this puts him at odds with Govinda again, right? Govinda seems more comfortable sticking with the teachings.
Yeah, Govinda finds structure and meaning in the Samana's path, even quotes scripture. He trusts the established way. But Siddhartha feels that learning from others, even wise Samanas, is becoming a barrier for him. He needs direct experience.
Which kind of sets the stage for their next big encounter, meeting Gautama, the Buddha.
Right, a truly momentous meeting. You can feel the impact just from Hesse's writing, the incredible peace surrounding the Buddha.
Both of them are just awestruck initially.
Absolutely. And Govinda, hearing the Buddha's clear teachings about suffering, about the path to end it, he's completely convinced. He decides right then and there to become a follower.
Joins the Sangha, the community.
Exactly. Finds his path or believes he has.
But Siddhartha, He respects the Buddha immensely, you can tell, admires the clarity of his teaching, this interconnected view of the world.
He does. He sees the wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
but he still has this core reservation.
Which is,
He basically tells the Buddha respectfully, your enlightenment, the experience you had, that's yours. I don't think anyone can truly achieve it just by following your words, your doctrine.
wow. So he's saying even the Buddha's path isn't the path for everyone.
Pretty much. He believes that the final step, the actual awakening, is something deeply personal, maybe even incommunicable, through teaching alone. Everyone has to find their own way through their own experience.
And the Buddha's reaction?
It's amazing. He doesn't argue. He doesn't try to convince Siddhartha. He just accepts it, understands that Siddhartha must continue his own search. It shows the Buddha's wisdom, too, I think.
Definitely. So Siddhartha leaves the Buddha, leaves Govinda again, and feels what? A sense of freedom.
A kind of awakening, actually. It's like leaving the samanas and the Buddha behind finally frees him to see the world itself clearly for the first time. The colors, the sounds, the river.
He decides he needs to learn from life now, not from teachers or doctrines.
Exactly. That symbolic crossing of the river with the ferryman that marks the beginning of this whole new phase. He's diving into the world of senses, of experience.
And pretty quickly he encounters Kamala, the courtesan.
Kamala, a very different kind of teacher.
Totally. She represents the world of beauty, desire, physical love, things he'd completely denied himself before.
And he's immediately drawn to her. He sees her skill, her worldly wisdom, and he tells her straight up. He wants to learn the art of love from her.
That takes some nerve. How does that first meeting go?
It's quite charming, actually. He's still got his samana look, but he impresses her with his focus, his quick learning. He composes a little verse for a kiss.
Right, I remember that.
But Kamala is practical. She tells him, essentially, if you want to learn from me, you need to fit into my world.
Meaning, get cleaned up, get some money.
Exactly. Clothes, shoes, money. He needs the tools to operate in society, in the world of pleasure and commerce she inhabits. So he gets a shave, new clothes, a real transformation.
A deliberate shedding of the past, and Kamala helps him get started in this new life.
She does. She introduces him to Kamaswami, a wealthy merchant.
And how does Siddhartha take to the world of business? Is he suddenly all about profit?
Not really. That's what's interesting. He learns quickly. He's smart. People trust him, so he becomes successful. But he approaches it all like a game.
Detached.
Very detached.
Yeah.
He doesn't get stressed about losses the way Kamaswami does. There's that story where a deal goes bad. Instead of rushing back, he just stays in the village, hangs out with the farmers.
Kamaswami must have torn his hair out.
Probably. Kamaswami is all worry and attachment to wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Siddhartha plays the game, learns the rules, but his core self remains somewhat aloof. At least initially.
Initially. Because Hesse hints that something's not quite right even here, doesn't he? That dying, quiet voice inside.
Mm-hmm. Even amidst the success and the pleasures with Kamala, that inner voice, the memory of his spiritual quest, it hasn't completely vanished. There's an underlying sense that this, too, isn't the final answer.
And gradually that detachment starts to slip, doesn't it? He gets pulled deeper into the worldly life, into sansora.
Yes.
Yeah.
It happens slowly. The wealth, the sensual pleasure with Kamala, the thrill of gambling, it starts to consume him more than he realizes.
He loses that samana edge, that inner stillness.
Right. He becomes more like the childlike people he once observed. Attached, greedy, bored, seeking stronger sensations. Gambling becomes a real addiction, a way to feel something, anything, even disgust.
He feels this deep weariness, this emptiness, despite having everything the world values.
Exactly. The game isn't fun anymore. The pleasures feel hollow.
And Kamala sees this change in him too, right? She even starts thinking about the Buddha herself.
Yes, Kamala has her own wisdom. She sees Siddhartha becoming trapped, losing his unique quality. She senses he'll leave eventually, maybe because she herself feels a pull towards something more spiritual, possibly influenced by him earlier.
And then one day it just hits him. The full extent of his emptiness, his self-disgust.
It's a sudden, crushing realization.
Yeah.
He sees how lost he's become, how far he's strayed. He just walks out, leaves the city, leaves Kamala, leaves everything behind.
Which brings him back to the river and to a very dark place.
A point of complete despair. He feels so empty, so sickened by his life that he contemplates suicide, letting himself drown in the river.
But something stops him.
Yes. Just as he's about to slip into the water, he hears it. Deep within himself. The sound oom.
Oom, that sacred sound representing the ultimate reality.
It's like a jolt back to his core, a reconnection to everything he's sought before. It awakens him, saves him. He falls into this incredibly deep, healing sleep right there by the river.
And when he wakes up, Govinda is there.
Yes. Govinda, now an old Buddhist monk, happens to be passing by, and he doesn't even recognize Siddhartha at first, seeing this finely dressed man sleeping rough.
That must have been a shock for Siddhartha.
A big one. It underscores how much he had changed outwardly. And talking to Govinda, he realizes something else. Those core skills he had as a samana, the fasting, the waiting, the thinking, it kind of withered away during his time chasing pleasure.
He feels like he has to start over.
Completely over. Like a child, needing to relearn everything. But it's not despair this time, it's acceptance. He sees his whole journey, even the foolishness and the dive into samsara, as necessary. A path he had to walk.
He needed the detour to find the way back.
Precisely. He couldn't just skip the messy parts.
So this profound experience leads him to stay by the river, and he meets the ferryman again, Vasudeva.
Yes, Vasudeva. The wise, quiet ferryman he'd met years before. This time, Siddhartha decides to stay, to become Vasudeva's apprentice, his companion.
And this period seems completely different. It's about learning from the river itself.
Deeply different. It's about listening. Vasudeva's great wisdom isn't in talking, it's in his ability to listen to the river, to understand its voice, its secrets.
What does the river teach Siddhartha?
So much. It teaches him about time, how past, present, and future all exist simultaneously in the river's flow. It teaches unity, how all voices, all lives merge into one great sound. It teaches acceptance of constant change.
It becomes his ultimate teacher, in a way, more than the Brahmins, the Samanas, even the Buddha.
For Siddhartha, yes, because it's direct experiential wisdom absorbed through listening and being present. Vasudeva guides him, but mainly by sharing his way of listening. They live simply, peacefully, gaining wisdom from the water's flow.
But life throws another curveball, doesn't it, with the arrival of his son?
Yes. A truly painful chapter. Kamala, who had become a follower of the Buddha, is traveling with their young son, also named Siddhartha, to see Gautama before he dies.
And she gets bitten by a snake near the ferry.
Tragically, yes.
Yeah.
She dies there, in Siddhartha's arms, recognizing the peace he's finally found. And suddenly, Siddhartha is left with his son he barely knows.
A son raised in the city, used to comfort, who wants nothing to do with this simple life by the river.
It's a huge conflict. Siddhartha feels this deep, instinctual love for his son, wants to protect him, teach him. But the boy is resentful, spoiled, missing his old life. He just doesn't understand his father.
He rebels.
Completely.
Yeah.
He's rude, defiant. Siddhartha tries patience, tries love, but the gap is too wide. The son feels trapped.
And eventually the son runs away, steals the boat and some money.
Yes. It mirrors Siddhartha's own departure from his father years ago. A painful echo.
Siddhartha wants to go after him, doesn't he?
Initially, yes. The fatherly instinct is strong. But Vasudeva gently helps him see that he has to let the boy go, find his own path, just like Siddhartha himself had to. You can't force someone onto a path, even out of love.
That must have been incredibly painful, but it leads to another level of understanding for Siddhartha.
Profoundly so. He truly understands for the first time the pain he must have caused his own father, that deep, aching love of a parent for a child who rejects them.
He feels the wound.
He feels the wound.
Yeah.
And through that shared human experience, that suffering, his heart opens even wider. He starts to understand the childlike people, ordinary people, caught in their desires and sorrows, not with attachment anymore, but with real empathy, real love.
He sees the cycle, the shared humanity.
Exactly. And he realizes that wisdom isn't just knowing things. It's this ability to feel the unity of all life, the interconnectedness right in the present moment. To love the world as it is, including the pain. But the wound, the love for his son, that remains.
Which brings us, finally, to that last meeting with Govinda. Years have passed.
Decades, probably. Govinda is an old monk, still devotedly following the Buddha's teachings, still searching, perhaps, for that final certainty. He hears about this wise ferryman by the river.
And he comes seeking wisdom, finding his old friend Siddhartha.
Yes. And the contrast between them is stark. Govinda is full of questions based on doctrine, looking for teachings he can grasp intellectually. Siddhartha radiates peace, but speaks in ways that seem paradoxical to Govinda.
Siddhartha tells him that wisdom, real wisdom, can't actually be put into words without sounding kind of foolish.
He does. He says something like, knowledge can be communicated, but not wisdom. Wisdom has to be lived, experienced. He explains that seeking, having a goal, can sometimes get in the way of just seeing what is.
He talks about the world not being divided into perfect and imperfect, samsara and nirvana, but that perfection is inherent in everything, always.
Right. He uses the analogy of a stone. A stone is a stone, but it's also soil, plant, animal, potentially God, Buddha. It contains all possibilities within it right now. It's about seeing the whole cycle, the inherent divinity in every single thing, even sin, even suffering.
Because it's all part of the great unity.
Exactly. And the most important thing, he concludes, isn't doctrine or knowledge, but love. The ability to love the world, to admire it, to belong to it.
Govinda struggles with this, right? It sounds so different from the teachings he's dedicated his life to.
Deeply struggles. He finds Siddhartha's words strange, maybe even heretical from a strict doctrinal view. Yet he can't deny the overwhelming sense of peace, of holiness, radiating from Siddhartha. He sees his friend as enlightened, even if he can't explain how using the concepts he knows.
So Govinda asks for one more thing, something concrete he can take away, understand.
A final teaching, a word of wisdom he can grasp.
And Siddhartha's response
Is silence. He just smiles and asks Govinda to come closer, to kiss him on the forehead.
No words, just a gesture.
Just a gesture. And as Govinda does, something extraordinary happens.
The vision.
The vision. Govinda doesn't see just Siddhartha's face anymore. He sees a continuous stream of faces, hundreds, thousands, fish, animals, people dying, people being born, lovers, murderers, all flowing into each other, all existing simultaneously within Siddhartha, all part of the river, the music of life, the great Om.
He sees the interconnectedness, the timelessness that Siddhartha has been talking about, but he sees it directly.
Directly.
Yeah.
Viscerally. He sees samsara and nirvana as one. He understands in that moment, not through words, but through experience, the profound peace and enlightenment his friend has achieved.
A silent transmission of wisdom.
The only way, perhaps, it could truly be conveyed. Govinda recognizes Siddhartha's holiness, bows deeply, tears streaming down his face, finally understanding the nature of the peace his friend found.
Wow. So the whole journey from Brahmin son to samana to lover to merchant to ferryman, it was all necessary. He had to reject the teachings to finally embody the wisdom.
That seems to be the essence of it. It wasn't about finding the right teacher or doctrine externally, but about integrating all of life's experiences, the spiritual, the worldly, the painful, the joyful, until he could perceive the unity within himself and the world.
The key themes really are the limits of just learning things from others, the absolute need for your own path, your own direct experience.
The interconnectedness of everything, and ultimately, the power of love and acceptance for the whole of life, exactly as it is.
It's a story that stays with you long after you finish it, a truly incredible exploration.
It really is.
See you in another episode. Bye-bye, Bavo.